So I'm starting my Facebook Live. I experienced a few quick little challenges. Sometimes from the phone to the computer, there's different options, or at least in the moment, it appears slightly different. So I'm here, and the reason I wanted to do this tonight is because I realized last week that this week, specifically today, was the day that I actually published my book in the English version. So the Successful Living Action Plan, Your Path to Prosperity, was published on today's date a year ago. And it's incredible to me that it's already been a year. I was talking to a friend of mine, inviting her to join us in the live, and I was really, really surprised. Both of us were talking about how quickly time has gone by. Hey, Deborah, how are you? I'm glad you're joining us. So I wanted to really share this experience and celebrate it. I mean, I think to me, when we accomplish something, sometimes we just forget that it was such a big deal to you when you did it, right? For me, the fact that I started the journey of writing my book in March of 2020, and by May I had it published. And not only did I publish it in English, but next week I'll be doing the same thing for the Spanish. That if Fuentes, thank you for joining us. So I think it's a big deal to celebrate it, because what happens is the big things that happen in our lives, we forget that they're so important. And thank you for all of you that are showing up. I know that I reached out to a lot of you and said that I was going to be celebrating today. So thank you for being here. But yeah, I think that sadly, so many times we really want to do something and we set this goal and we accomplish it. And then suddenly it's like we lose momentum, or we forget how much and how important it was. So that's why I'm here. Thank you to all of you. I see, let's see, Tina. I see Ana Maria. So all of you that are here, I believe Manuel is around here somewhere watching too. So what do I want to do tonight? I wanted to talk about this book, The Successful Living Action Plan. I wanted to talk a little bit about why I decided to publish this book. Because when we published it and when we were pushing it out the day that we did the launch, it was amazing, because the focus was getting people to know about the book, getting people to contacting all our friends and saying, hey, it's here, finally published my book. And so people were jumping in and going in and buying the book. So today I want to talk about more about why I did it. So let's see, I have to put on my glasses because otherwise I can't see what you're putting in the chat. Thank you, Tina. Celebrate the big and the small victories. That's right, right? I want to get the book. Yes, if you have not gotten the book, we will have a link at the end of this for you to buy it, but the book is available on Amazon. It's The Successful Living Action Plan, Your Path to Prosperity. So why did I publish this book? I decided to publish this book because I had spent, at the time of the writing of the book, I had already spent probably close to 20 years trying to figure out how we could change the way we educate and train so that more people could accomplish what they wanted. And I had been doing a lot of training, especially with many of the different nonprofits. And I was seeing that it didn't matter who was teaching a program. It seemed like people would start programs that were 12 weeks or 8 weeks or even 6 weeks, whatever it may be, and they weren't finishing. And I thought, first I looked at myself and I thought, is it me? Is there something I'm not doing? Thank you, Carolina. But then I also started looking at the other instructors that were teaching in the same organizations, because many times we were all in the building at the same time and someone was teaching a class and you could see how many people showed up. And at the end of it, you would just see that not that many people would finish. And I thought, there's something wrong. There's got to be something happening that's making it where it doesn't matter how good the instructor is. Why aren't people motivated to finish a program? Like, I remember teaching business plan classes and people would start and they wouldn't finish at the end of the course after weeks of being in class and participating and going home, and they needed to do work along the way. And when we'd get to the end of it, I would talk to any of the instructors that taught these programs, and myself included. We would think, why aren't people finishing their business plan? What's the problem? And then I decided to go on this journey trying to find the answer. And I started looking around the globe. And not only did I look around the globe, but I started looking at, what are people doing in regular programs, all kinds of different programs, whether it was business plan classes, financial literacy classes, any kind of training program for leadership. It just seemed like over and over again, the results weren't there. And Delaware, which is where I did a lot of this research, was a great place because it allowed me to see people that had taken training programs years before, and sadly seeing them many years later and seeing that they were basically in the same place. They weren't going much further. They hadn't really gotten their dreams off the ground. And so that troubled me. So what happened? As I looked around the globe, I started hearing about a lot of people talking about many of the same things, that we needed to change the way we teach and train. And what were we talking about? You know how when you're in school, you have a science teacher and a math teacher and a history teacher. But do you find that after you finish your education, your formal education, and you're out here and you're living your life, and you start to realize that all these things are interconnected, and you start wondering, at least for me, I ask myself, well, why is it that the teachers didn't help me to understand how history was connected to science, and science to math, and to anything that you want to do in life? All those things are interconnected. And so I started realizing that that was the problem, is that when we teach and train, we don't help people understand. Like, let's say I'm teaching a financial coaching program. If I don't help people understand that the decisions they make about money are going to affect their life in general, that things that you do years before, financially, decisions that you made, can haunt you years later. If we don't make those connections, and we don't help as trainers and educators, if we don't help our students to understand that, they just don't realize how important those decisions are. So they set these goals. They say they want to start a business, for example, or, hey, I want to get my finances in order, or I want to go back to school, whatever the goal is. And what happens is you just start moving forward with this goal, but you don't stop and ask yourself, why do I really want to do this? How does it improve my life? So from all this research, what did it lead to? So in the book, I talk about the 5 pillars of success. And these 5 pillars are important. Why? Because you have to work on all 5. It's not that you're going to make yourself crazy working on every single one at the same time, but you're going to realize that there's areas within each one, but there's always one area, 1 or 2 areas that maybe we're neglecting, or maybe we just need more information. We need to learn more. So what are the 5 pillars? Let's start with that. So within the book, I talk about the 5 pillars. The first one is self-discovery. And let me just say that self-discovery is the pillar where you should spend the most time. The way I wrote my book, I wrote it so that people would understand the research and the work that I had put into changing the way I educate and train, and also to train more people to learn how to change the way they educate and train. But I wrote the book so that anyone could buy it and work through the chapters. It's not complicated. It's a simple process, but I wanted people to begin to experience what it's like to work on these 5 pillars at the same time. But the self-discovery piece is the most important piece you'll ever work on. I like to say that the most important person you will ever meet is yourself. You're the number 1 person that you should really, really get to know. Let's see, I want to check and see if there's any other comments. So far we have several of you are watching. Thank you very much for joining me. It's always a drag, to be honest, when you're on Facebook Live and you're kind of talking to yourself. Why? Because a lot of people decide to watch the recording afterwards. But thank you for those of you that are here and watching now. So the first pillar in self-discovery includes everything that is about mindset. We talk about meditation and why that is more important that you may even imagine. I talk about stillness and practicing stillness just to get used to meditation. We talk about things like understanding your mindset around all the different areas of your lives. So it's really just sitting down and evaluating, what are your beliefs? Where do they come from? Everything that you believe came from influences in your life from the time you were little until now. And what happens is we run through our lives and we become adults, and we don't necessarily stop and question where our beliefs come from. Imagine financially, you're always thinking to yourself that you never have enough money, that you're just unlucky for money, that the minute you have a little bit of money set aside, something happens and it just goes away. Well, the more you keep repeating that, that means that there's something within you that you believe that money is something that you don't attract, that money is not something that you're going to be able to enjoy in life, because there's always something happening to whatever money you have. Those are beliefs that come from somewhere. And if those beliefs aren't serving you, it's time to evaluate those beliefs. And this happens with so many different areas where we use these negative terms. So there's that whole self-discovery piece. And in the book, I break down, and this is a simple book. The person that wrote the prologue for my Spanish version, which I will celebrate next week, he said that this was a 1 hour conversation with me, because I wrote the book as if I was talking to you. And he described it very well. It's not a book that takes a long time to read, but you need to take the time to work through it and do some of the things. So the first piece is self-discovery. The second pillar is lifelong learning. And I talk about lifelong learning because if someone didn't finish their education, it is not likely that they are going to go back to school. Especially when I've done a lot of work with people that are disadvantaged, that maybe weren't able to get a good education for whatever reason, or maybe at the time they didn't value it. And so suddenly they realize that they do need to learn, but they're not going to go back to school. So I love to talk about lifelong learning, because learning should never stop. How many people get a degree, and once they get their bachelor's or their master's degree or their doctorate, they feel like they're accomplished, which they are. It's a wonderful accomplishment, but they don't continue to develop their skills maybe in their profession, or they don't continue to learn. Like, learning is a lifelong endeavor. You always grow. It helps you to get better. And what are we learning? It could be around money. It could be around how to write goals, how to really live the life you want to, that you imagine for yourself. Or learning how to live in a community. One of the pillars, the fifth pillar, is actually has to do with belonging, being part of a community. But the third pillar is income producing activities, right? And why do I call it that? It's income producing activities because this is where we focus on more than just a job. And these names weren't chosen just randomly. I didn't choose them for no reason. They were chosen because they help you to understand, just by hearing the term, what it is that has to happen in your life with that particular pillar. So income producing activities is about looking at all the different ways that you can earn a living. So there's a job, there's owning your own business, right? An entrepreneur, but you can also be self-employed, but actually be working maybe on commission work. So you still have someone that has expectations for the work that you're doing, but you choose the territory, or you choose when and how you work. So that's why I like to focus on income producing activities. Income producing activities is also great when you already have a job and you need a little bit of extra money and you think in terms of income producing activities. you're going to say to yourself, okay, so what other skills do I have that I could use to make a little bit of money right now? I want to check in real quick on what's going on in the chat. So Manuel, I really enjoyed the book and continue to read it and study it. I'm so happy for you. Thank you, Manuel. Adalberto Rivas is watching. Hey, thank you for watching. Sonia Carter, long time no see. Wow, thank you for watching. So the income producing activities just kind of sparks the idea that there are other things you know how to do that have nothing to do with whatever it is that you decided to do for work, but that you can do. Today online, you can go on websites, you can, offer your skills. If you're bilingual, you can offer to translate documents, and maybe that's something you do from home. Open your mind to all the possibilities. And so that's why that's one of the pillars. And then the fourth pillar is financial awareness. And again, why did I choose these terms? All these terms are chosen based on the work, based on the research. And financial awareness is about much more than financial literacy. If you take a class and you take financial literacy class, that of course that has a value. So you learn what a budget is, you learn about a financial plan, you learn about an emergency fund. But what's the problem? The problem is that you don't understand perhaps how these other areas of your life and the decisions you're making. I like to use this example. When you're younger and your friends are getting married, so many times a friend will come to you and say, hey, I'd love it if you'd be a bridesmaid in my wedding. And so you make that decision and you say, yeah, sure, of course. But you don't stop to think about the expenses that are associated with all that. So you just make this decision and you go with it. And next thing you know, you realize, wow, I didn't really budget for myself to be able to, for all the expenses. What if it's a destination wedding and it's going to be somewhere where I have to travel? How are those expenses getting covered? So you made a decision to support your friend and be there and be her bridesmaid. But now maybe you're robbing Peter to pay Paul, right? Which means that you're taking money from something else that was important, savings accounts, whatever, and now you're moving that money. So in life, everything we do, we don't always connect the fact that we could be affecting ourselves financially. So this is why I talk about financial awareness. It's looking at all the different aspects of money and understanding it. And this is all broken down in the book in simple, easy ways so that you don't have to spend a lot of time reading it, but you're going to get enough knowledge to go in and start setting new goals and looking at it. And it's all, remember, it's part of the Successful Living Action Plan. That's what this book is. It's helping you to get on a path to prosperity by following this particular action plan. So it's all spelled out for you to do it. And then the fifth pillar is social responsibility and community. How many times do you move in somewhere and suddenly there's a problem with a neighbor? Well, I've heard people say, I don't care, it's my property, I own the house. Why do I have to worry about what my neighbors say? Because we're in society, because you're in a neighborhood. It's a wonderful thing to be able to contribute and work. And even if you're not, in there really always getting to know all your neighbors, in many communities, sadly, that doesn't happen anymore like it used to be. But you become aware of the fact that you're part of a community now, that you have this home, and whether you're renting or it's your own home, that there's a responsibility there for you to be part of that community, to contribute. So many of us volunteer. We do a lot of volunteer work. That's all part of that social responsibility. What about taking care of the environment? Forget for a second whether, people want to believe or not believe about, the global warming and everything else. It's about taking care of Mother Earth. It's about having everything. Why, not throwing trash into the oceans, the stuff that goes. I hike a lot and walk a beach area quite a bit. And it is unbelievable the kind of trash that people just leave there. They go to enjoy the beach. They go fishing there, whatever it may be, because it's the Chesapeake Bay is what's close to me. And then they leave their trash. I just don't understand it. Like, why are you damaging something that you love to do? I want to pause for a second and ask if there's any questions that you have that relate to these topics, or any comments about a struggle, anything, because this is a conversation. Am in, I'm excited about this work. I have seen amazing, amazing results. Some of you that know me know that I'm a financial coach. You know that I'm one of the trainers for Stand By Me's financial coaching program, and I've been doing this for 10 years, right? I've been a financial coach trainer. I think we've got to be coming up on 1,000 coaches. And I can't tell you the stories of success just from the training program when somebody makes a decision to do something differently, because in the financial coaching class, we link everything and we talk about all these connections, and we talk about how to treat money differently. For example, estate planning. Why is it so important? People think that if they don't have a lot of money, there's no need for an estate plan. If you have small children, you need an estate plan. If you own some assets, it doesn't matter what they are. Who's getting that? You know how many times people end up breaking their relationships, sisters, brothers, family members end up in disputes over simple things that weren't decided because there was no estate plan? This is the kind of stuff that I feel like when we're teaching, we just don't help. I remember a student telling me that he didn't like geometry, didn't really care for math class. And this was me when I was running a program at the University of Delaware. It was an entrepreneurship program, and this student was in this program. And he happened to mention that. And I remembered that he loved to play pool. And I used that as the tool to ask him. I said to him, "Oh, I think I recall that you said you like to play pool, right?" And he said, "Yeah." He said, "I love to play pool." I said, "Well, what do you think happens in pool? Isn't it all about angles and physics and science and different things that are happening when somebody's playing pool?" But see, if as trainers, we help people to understand these links and these connections, it makes a difference. So in the Successful Living Action Plan, Your Path to Prosperity, I touch on those 5 pillars, but I walk you through what you have to do. What are the thoughts and the questions that you want to ask yourself? When I talk about goal setting, I talk about, the 5 whys, like ask yourself all the reasons why. So these are the kinds of things that, for me, this book was a way to share with more people all these things that I'm talking about, because I felt like I can only teach so many people, right? If I'm showing up, even now, I'm showing up live, and yes, there's an opportunity, and it's likely that a lot more people will watch this in the recording. And I'm certainly grateful that for those of you that are here again, supporting me, because it's really nice to just have some people present. But also, it was about, I'm limited, right? If I'm showing up, especially when we were showing up in a classroom, I'm limited to the number of people that I can help. And my goal is that anyone that reads this book, that they will get something out of it that will help them to live differently, that there's one little seed planted that might just make the difference in your life. If you haven't read my book, it's it's available on Amazon. It's available in hardback or paperback cover, and then it's available in digital form. But I really encourage you to just look at these ideas and really see that so many of the reasons why we don't accomplish the things we want in life is because we've never understood that every tiny little thing that we do is creating an opportunity for us to achieve our goals or to move away from them. For example, when we set goals, in order to change a habit, it's so important that you look at doing something tiny little steps to begin with. Because if you are trying to change a habit and you set a goal, and this goal is, I want to buy a house in 5 years, that seems so far away. And you should start thinking about all the steps that have to happen for you to get to buy a house in 5 years. And what happens is you start to lose steam, and you start to lose the encouragement that you have. But if you say to yourself, listen, I want to buy a house in 5 years. But guess what? The very first step is, where do I want to buy this house? Where do I want to live? Do I want to live where I'm at now? Do I want to move? Am I moving to another state or another country? How much would this house be? What kind of money do I want to invest? How big is it? There are a lot of things that you can think of and start giving yourself goal. Okay, so one of my goals is to decide where it is that I want to buy a house. Another goal is, if you're in the US, it's all about credit scores. So what is my credit score? What kind of credit score would buy me and what kind of house? So a goal is to get that information. It's all the little goals that are going to get you to the bigger goals. I see that, let's see, is it Michael Montes? Thank you for joining this live chat. And again, it's all around this book and just trying to share this information on why I did it. And it's about wanting to change lives. It really is for me. It's all about, what does it matter if I am constantly offering training, if I'm constantly coaching people and they're not really changing their lives? What am I really doing? And how could I continue to do teaching and training programs and not see people become successful? For me, that just didn't make sense. And again, I looked at my own methods of training, but I was following curriculums that were already there, right? Whenever you teach for other organizations, you're using the curriculum that somebody else has already given you. And I realized that there were so many things missing. We don't really understand how to set goals. We don't look at our behavior. How do we change it? I see, Tina, you have a comment. I kicked myself for spending so much time on self-development, but now a year later, as I create my products and classes, let's see, I need to see more so that I can see it. Unfortunately, I'm not able to see the rest of it right now, but perhaps, Tina, you can share with us the rest of that. But basically, I hope that basically for you, it's just been that you realize that those decisions and how they really connect and how they're helping you get to your goals. So in everything we're doing, we just really need to stop and think. And I want to keep taking you back to self-discovery, because whether you're trying to work on financial awareness, whether you're thinking about lifelong learning and you say to yourself, I don't like to learn, but yet you're always watching some kind of documentary or you're watching some kind of program or you're reading books, magazines. I don't care if the books are for entertainment. You're learning something. It's always about continuously learning. And if there's a skill you don't have in the world today, you don't necessarily have to go and get it in a formal education setting. You don't necessarily need to go to school unless it's something you need for a profession. It could be something that you're learning just online. There are amazing sources of information online. I just launched this year the Bilingual Academy for Leadership Excellence, and we're putting new courses on there all the time. And what is the purpose of that? It's so that somebody can go in, take a course independently. And some courses you just go in and take the course, and some courses you're going to get some coaching, and I'll be in there, once a week or once a month. We're having some kind of actual live event where you can ask questions, all to continue to provide more education and training for people, but changing the way we educate and train. So Tina, you said exactly the connection of the 5 pillars is the takeaway. And that's it. I want to share something when it comes back up on my computer, something from the book, because there are so many areas within the book that I can't possibly cover, nor do I intend to cover it all tonight. I really would rather have you ask questions that maybe, if you have a question around any one of these things, or maybe you're thinking to yourself, well, Danette, it's all well and good, but I'm not necessarily in the best financial position. I mean, look at what's happened to the global economy. Look at what happened in 2020, and we're still moving forward. We're still seeing the consequences. My business dropped probably more than 50% because of everything that's happened last year. And what did I do? I had to learn to do things differently. I had to really look, not just budgeting, but I had to sit there and go, okay, so as a business, what else can I do to make money? I'm always looking at multiple streams of income. I always look from the aspect of income producing activities, because we all need to be open to the many, many ways. But I want to share something with you from the book in case you haven't read it, but I want to read this to you because it really speaks to how I feel about the work that I'm doing and why I wanted to celebrate this with you and celebrate it and remind myself too that it took a lot to get this goal and to do it and to reach it, and to be sitting here a year later celebrating the fact that I actually published that book, a dream that I had had for a long time. It's something that just makes you feel amazing. But in the book, there's a part towards the beginning of the book where I talk about what my hope is for this book. And my hope for this book is that it will make a difference in how you approach your goals for a more successful life. This publication compiles years of research, teaching, and perfecting the methods you will follow as you go through each chapter. And I mean every single word of this. You may find these techniques will become second nature, making changes in behavior much easier. Behavior change is one of the toughest things that we will ever decide to do, regardless of what it is that you want to accomplish. Today we hear a lot about awareness, and if you've been reading anything or listening to anything that has to do with mindfulness and, understanding the mind and how it works, and you hear people say, what you focus on, you attract, and all these topics that seem sometimes so woo-woo, and what are they talking about, and how could that possibly be? But the scientists in the world today are starting to get on board and showing us the proof of how important our mindset is for how we live our lives, and how these are things that have a solid scientific foundation. If you're a spiritual person, it's probably very easy for you to understand many of these things, but the scientists are also being able to prove that there is something about the way we think and the things we do. So awareness is really just being aware of the thoughts that are coming out of your mind, the words that you're using when you refer to yourself or to the situation in your life. If you're always being negative about everything, life never works for me, I'm never going to be able to live the life I want, it seems like there's always a problem, that's all you will ever continue to see. But if you sit and say to yourself, you know what? Something happened, this situation happened for me, and it's not a fun situation, but I have a choice. I can choose to just focus on what happened and dwell on it and feel destroyed, sad, negative, angry, whatever it may be. But if you can also turn around and say to yourself, I don't choose to allow that situation to define me. I have to find a way to move forward. How do I do that? And so that's what awareness really is. If you take all the other stuff and remove it, it's about becoming aware of who you are and how you see the world, and beginning to make small changes. So I want to take a second and see what else is going on. I know I have to keep putting on my glasses because, I can't read without my readers. So I see Marlene. Marlene, welcome. Thank you, Marlene. Gracias por estar aquí. Very, very much in gratitude for you showing up. Marlene is all the way in Peru. There are a few people, I think, that were on at some point. I know that some of you that have been on or are on are watching from different areas. So any questions, any comments, anything that you're thinking to yourself, I have no idea what she's really talking about. I'm telling you that the book really simplifies it. I really try to take these concepts that are complicated and make them easier to understand. I think that's my job. That's what it's there for, right? I want to share, let's see, there's something else. I have a quote that I use a lot, and it's here in the book, and it's, remember that nothing changes until you change your mind. I'll repeat that. Nothing changes until you change your mind. If you don't change your mind about the way things are for you, it's going to be practically impossible for you to really ultimately achieve the life you desire, because there's a constant negativity. And let me tell you, I'm human. I've worked and studied these things all these years, and I teach a lot of these things on a regular basis. I work with clients on helping them to kind of set the path that they want for their lives, and then help them to think it all through, and making sure that their mind is right in order to succeed. But you have to believe in yourself, and you really need to be clear about what you want, and always be accepting. Accept other ideas. Have conversations with people that challenge your thinking, and don't judge. Just take in what they're saying and verify it. If there's information that you want to verify to see if it's legit, whatever it is, but keep asking yourself, why things are different. Why is this person seeing the world in a different way? You know, I've had people say, oh, this whole positivity thing, I'm so tired of all these people with all this positivity. Well, you know, the truth is, we cannot be positive all the time. So I don't like to try to refer to that, but it's about not seeing the world in a negative way all the time, because that's not good either. It's just simply about looking at everything that's happening and just looking at the fact. We talk a lot about being present, and being present is simply that what happened even earlier today is behind me already, and what's happening tomorrow or tonight or in the future, I have no control over. I don't know what's going to happen. How many times do you sit around and start pondering something that's supposed to happen tomorrow? Or you anticipate a problem and you start thinking, well, you know, what if this goes wrong? And what if I don't have the money to pay for this? And then what am I going to do? How am I going to get to work? What if I can't get a job? This is the kind of stuff that we're constantly cluttering our minds with. And guess what? It's the future. You have no control over that. It could be tomorrow. You still have no control over that. The only thing we have control is right here, today, right now. That's it. All I can control right now, for me, it's about being present with you. Those of you that are on here, I'm so grateful that you are, and trying to share something with you and celebrate, you know, something that I feel so proud of, but that I feel like it can contribute to people's lives. For me, means a lot. So right now, for me, this is all I'm worried about. I'm right here. I'm enjoying this moment, sharing what I can with you, hoping that you'll ask some questions. I'm glad that you're watching, but if you definitely have questions, please feel free to ask and share this information. If you get anything out of this, maybe you'll share something and try to open somebody else's mind, or maybe I'd love to hear from you and let me know that, hey, if you bought the book and you end up buying the book and reading it, I'd love to hear from you and what you got out of it. If you have questions or you want to challenge what I'm saying, you know, it's about having a conversation. So right now I'm here. Let's see. I see a question. Sometimes you got to think about the present. You know, the present is where we have to focus on. Absolutely, Mike. It's about what's happening right here and right now. If I'm confronting a problem and it's a major problem, I have to say to myself, okay, so what are the circumstances, the facts, not start thinking the what if and what if. Right now, in this moment, I need to silence my phone. But if you're, let's say you're traveling and you get a flat tire and you get stuck on the side of the road and you're somewhere where you can't even think of how you're going to get any kind of help, but you knew that that tire was a problem. You knew that you really needed to buy a new tire. Then now it's not bad luck. This is the worst possible time for this to happen. Oh, sure, absolutely. But a decision that was made days or weeks before has led to being stuck on the side of the road because I didn't take care of this tire that I knew really needed to be changed. I needed to buy a new tire. You know, I've worked a lot with individuals in reentry, people that have been incarcerated and they're reentering society. And it's so hard for them to get a job. And so people work hard to help them get a job. But guess what happens? We don't help them understand how important it is to have an emergency fund, to save money for an emergency, right? For a rainy day. And we don't help them understand how important it is to be able to get to work. It's not just about interviewing and how to dress. And these are circumstances that happen. Many of these things happen to any one of us, regardless of whether, what your circumstances are. But imagine you help them get a job, they get a job, and they have a little car that's not the best car, and they use it to get to work every day. And then the transmission goes, and now they don't have the money to get the transmission fixed. And bosses will tolerate a day or two if you don't show up, and the next thing you know, they're over there thinking that this person is not a game player, they're not committed to their job. And someone like that is already struggling with getting a job and getting opportunities, they lose their job, not because they're not a good worker, not because they're not skilled. They lose their job because they can't fix the transmission. This is the stuff that makes me crazy. Why aren't we helping people understand these things? And I'm talking any one of us can be making decisions and we're not connecting all the other consequences. So that's why being present to today is about what is going on today and what do I need to take care of so that I'm always ready. And you can't anticipate everything in life, but if you just can see the world and realize that you always have a choice. We may not like the choice we have to make. It may not be the favorite choice we want to make, but there's always a choice, and the choice is how I react and respond to the world around me. Any questions? I'm coming up on, we just have a few minutes left. So any questions or anything that you might have, any comments? Thank you, Juanita. I see that you joined us. Thank you very much for joining. You're always such a supporter, and I'm always very grateful for that. Any other thoughts, anything that I can share with you before we end today? I hope that this has been something that you found entertaining, interesting, that I open your mind to some possibilities, perhaps. Continue to follow me on Facebook. I'm on LinkedIn. I'm on Facebook. I'm on Instagram. I spend a lot of time. We have the Bilingual Academy group, which is Balix. It's a Facebook group that you can be a part of, and I'll be offering courses there. I see Carolina. Thanks. And so in the book, again, you can go to Amazon, The Successful Living Action Plan, Your Path to Prosperity. If you know anybody that speaks Spanish only, the book is available in Spanish. Next week, I'll be on celebrating with those, my community that follows me, that's Spanish speaking. Mike, thank you for your comment. Thank you for that. I really appreciate it, sincerely. And it's just a matter of changing the way we think, and you're going to realize that it really, really does change a lot in your life. So read the book, comment, go to Amazon to get the book. Again, it's in paperback or it's in digital form. And for you, those of you that are on, if you're willing to put it in the chat, put your email in here. This is going to get recorded, but the idea is that we want to capture your names because we are also doing a drawing tonight. We're choosing a few people to get the book, the paperback version. If you're in the US, unfortunately, the paperback version, to send it to places abroad, like Peru and other places, it's crazy that a book that's $14 is like $40 or $50 to ship, but we can always share the digital. Thank you for all the hearts. I see Jose Ayala just joined us. Thank you for joining us. And I hope that you'll watch the recording. If you've missed anything, we will be saving this so that you can actually see the recording after the fact. Thanks for the support. So many of you we've known each other for a long time. Some of you I've come to know more recently. And it's just, I really appreciate the support. So, hello, Jose. And any other final thoughts or questions that anyone may have? I just want to respect your time. Intended to be here a half hour, and an hour, and we're coming up on that. And again, I'm in sincere appreciation, and hope you'll share this book. If you have somebody in your life that you love and care for, and you know they're struggling, or you know that maybe they have a mindset where they really, really need some support, maybe it's this book. Maybe the digital version, something that they can have easily on their cell phone. It's not a deep read. It's very, very easy. I remember when I published a book, I got so much support, even from my Army ROTC buddies from our college days. So many people supported this whole process of getting this book written, and the encouragement and the support. And so thanks again. And I'm always teaching these concepts. I'm always talking about this. I have courses that are not very expensive to things that are more certifications. I have courses that a Polytech University, International University in Mexico, they actually certify some of the courses that I have in my academy. So there are many ways that you can engage with me, and I'm always offering free courses. Matter of fact, before I go, because I know my team would probably say to me, how come you didn't mention this in the live? But I have a course actually coming up next week on the 26th, and it has to do with your mindset and your money, and how your mindset affects your finances. And we have that course at $47. I want to say 47. And it's next week, and it's live. We're going to be getting together just like this, and we're going to focus on the mindset and money. And you can find information on how to register for that course. If you look on Facebook, there's lots of information on how to register for that course if you're interested. But again, I'm always offering free courses, and I just want to help people to accomplish, what it is that you want to accomplish. And if I can be of help, or if I was of some kind of help tonight, I am in sincere gratitude. Thank you so much for joining me. I love to respect people's time. If you missed any of this, or you missed part of it, this recording will be available. Thanks again, and thank you so much, and much love for all of you. Thank you.